Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Cheryl. Today I would love to share my personal journey into the question the narrative topic. By looking into the current narrative, we will look at all the facts presented and evaluate whether the current narrative is merely created and written by the founders of the land. Each seeker of the truth will have to take what resonates with them and ask themselves, what is the truth? Do these topics have merit? Let's explore the narrative together. Danville is a home rural-class city in Boyle County, Kentucky, United States. It is the seat of its county. The population was 17,236 at the 2020 census. Danville is the principal city of the Danville Micropolitan Statistical Area, which includes all of the Boyle and Lincoln counties. In 2001, Danville received a Great American Main Street Award from the National Trust for Historic Preservation. In 2011, Money Magazine placed Danville as the fourth best place to retire in the United States. Centre College in Danville was selected to host U.S. vice presidential debates in 2000 and 2012. Within Kentucky, Danville is called the City of First. It housed the first courthouse in Kentucky. The first Kentucky Constitution was written and signed here. It was the first capital of Kentucky. It had the first U.S. post office west of the Allegheny Mountains. It hosts the first state-supported school for the deaf. Ephraim McDowell completed the first known successful laparotomy here in 1809, removing an ovarian tumor from a woman patient without anesthesia. It is the home of Centre College, housing the oldest college administration building and campus west of the Allegheny Mountains. Danville was part of the Great Settlement area around Fort Herod, which was first settled in 1774. The site was originally known as Crow's Station for the settler John Crow, but the town was surveyed and plotted by Walker Daniel, Kentucky's first district attorney, who bought 76 acres near the Wilderness Road from Crow in 1783. The city was named for Daniel. The Virginia legislature officially established Danville on December 4, 1787. Between 1784 and 1792, 10 conventions were held in Danville to petition for better governance and ultimately to secure independence from Virginia. In 1786, the Danville Political Club was organized. It met every Saturday night at Grayson's Tavern to discuss the political, economic, and social concerns of the day. After a state constitution was adopted and separation was confirmed in 1792, the town ceased to be of statewide importance. Its leading citizens were moved elsewhere. Transylvania University was founded in Danville in 1783. It moved to Lexington in 1789. Centre College was founded in 1819. Danville Theological Seminary was founded in 1853. In 1901, it became part of the Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. The Caldwell Institute for Young Ladies was founded in 1860. It became Caldwell Female College in 1876. Caldwell College in 1904, Kentucky College for Women in 1913, and merged into Centre College in 1926. In November 1806, Meriwether Lewis, co-leader of the Lewis and Clark expedition, visited Danville while traveling the Wilderness Road to Washington, D.C. to report on the expedition, which had returned from the Pacific coast. In December 1806, William Clark visited his nephews in school in Danville before following Lewis to Washington. The first school in Danville for African American children was founded around 1840 by Willis Russell, an emancipated slave of Robert Craddock, a Revolutionary War veteran. Craddock deeded a log house in Danville to Russell. He moved to the town after Craddock's death and started a school for children. The house on Walnut Street no longer stands, though what was once believed to be his house is now the Willis Russell Memorial Cabin. Russell's house stood across the street. opposite James African American Methodist Church. In 1842, Boyle County was formed from southern Mercer County and northern Lincoln County. Danville became its county seat. In 1850, Danville and Boyle County backed construction of the Lexington and Danville Railroad. Money ran out when the railroad reached Nicholasville. John A. Roebling had already built towers for a railroad suspension bridge over the Kentucky River. Roebling lived in Danville during the construction. Despite the railroad not being completed to Danville, the county still owed the company $150,000. It completed payment on time in 1884. After the Union Army won the Battle of Perryville in the Civil War on October 8, 1862, it appropriated many Danville buildings, including the courthouse, for use as hospitals. On October 11th, a Union force drove Confederate forces from the county fairgrounds through Danville. In May 1864, the group of 250, mostly enslaved males, but including some freed men, marched from Danville to nearby Camp Nelson in Jessamine County, where Colonel Andrew Clark allowed them to enlist in the Union Army after some initial hesitation. Arriving with wounds inflicted upon them en route, this group was the first to enlist at this site, where 10,000 United States colored troops trained. In 1775, Archibald McNeil planted Kentucky's first record hemp crop at Clark's Run Creek near Danville. By 1889, Boyle County was one of the 10 Kentucky counties which together produced more than 90% of the U.S. yield. It was the state's largest cash crop until 1915, when it lost its market to imported jute. From the turn of the 20th century through the 1960s, Danville was home to a thriving African American business sector located on and around 2nd Street on the western edge of what is now Constitution Square historic site. The city demolished this business sector under urban renewal in 1970s to provide for the expansion of Constitution Square.
For over 100 years, the grand building on the corner of 4th and Main has served as a community gathering place and source of great civic pride. It was occupied in 3 primary phases: as the town post office from 1911 through 1961, then as a federal building until the mid-1990s, and finally its current use as an art center. In 1907, the citizens of Danville received word via telegraph that their community had been selected as the site of a federal building project. Because Danville was a postal delivery hub for the surrounding rural communities, the original construction was of a post office. Construction began on the grass lot at the corner of 4th and Main in 1909 and continued into early 1911, opening to the public in March of that year. The contracted cost to build the post office was $63,369. The photographs on the wall chronicle the construction of the building and give a sense of just what a monumental undertaking the project was. For our second tour stop, step outside onto the grand front steps of the building. 401 West Main is a classic representation of the Beaux-Arts architectural style that had its apex in the United States from 1890 to 1920. As you look up at the building, you will notice several architectural features that indicate the era of its construction. Note the symmetrical facade with columns, the sloping mansard roof, and the monumental run of steps approaching the building entrance. Inside, the floor plan culminating in a single grand room, the Grand Hall, is also a classic element of this style. Other examples of Beaux-Arts buildings from the same time period include the Kentucky Governor's Mansion, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Grand Central Terminal in New York City, and several college campuses including UC Berkeley, Columbia University, and the U.S. Naval Academy. The large window ledges on the front of the building hold special memories for many community members. Listen as Jim Jacobus recollects his experience as a child.
I was probably 8 to 10 years old, maybe a little older. Probably that'd been in the mid-60s when we had parades, which back then we had lots of parades in Danville. Boyle County had their homecoming parade. Danville had their homecoming parade. There were bands not only from Danville, but we'd have bands from Garrett County or Mercer County or Harrodsburg. They would come over and be in our parade as well. And so for a young kid who couldn't see over the crowd, we discovered we could climb the steps of the old federal building, and we could walk along like a catwalk and sit on the windowsills, and that was a good way to see the parades. And that was really a popular thing to do back then. So that was kind of neat. Someone who's grown up here all my life, that was the way we could watch parades. And we'd ride our bikes up, we'd park them on the sidewalk, put the kickstand down. We could go downtown to Spoonward Road and get a cherry Coke for a nickel, and come back. Our bikes were still there. Now today you couldn't do that.
Standing in what would have been the public area of the post office, the marble to hardwood floor transition marks the boundaries of the public areas of the post office. The public had access only to a small portion of the grand floor, as the majority of the space was used for behind-the-scenes mail sorting and processing. Visitors entering through either the front or side doors would have been greeted by a gleaming array of post office boxes, wooden with brass numbers and hardware. Community members could buy stamps and conduct business with postal workers via a window and counter located approximately where the blue glass artwork currently sits in the Art Center lobby. As the post office, the building was at the heart of the community. Nelson Rhodes, a longtime Danville resident and lawyer, shares this memory.
We used the entrance off of 4th Street was probably used more than the main street one at the front of the building. But it was kind of a gathering spot. When I came back here to practice law in 58, all the lawyers were kind of gathered. They all had a box, and the mail was put up in the boxes early so they could get their mail. And they would sit around there and kind of shoot the breeze for a few minutes before they headed to their offices.
The grand marble staircase and wrought iron railing are original to the building. The elevator was installed during the 2003 renovations prior to the opening of the Community Arts Center, now the Art Center of the Bluegrass. Lack of handicap accessibility is thought to be one factor in the relocation of the post office in 1961, although the primary issue was lack of adequate parking for mail trucks. At the time of the building's construction, mail arrived in Danville by train and was distributed via horse-drawn wagon. With the rise of postal trucks, the building's modest parking lot with limited entrance and exit options was insufficient. Throughout the building's history, the second floor housed a variety of federal and local public offices, including the county extension agent, the offices of the Inter-County Energy Cooperative, the IRS, Social Security, and military recruitment offices. Although successive tenants of the building made some changes over the years, many original architectural elements remain, including 4 imposing metal vaults, 3 on the ground floor and 1 here on the second floor. Step inside the staff offices to take a peek at the vault, currently in use as a storage closet. The building boasts several secret passageways. An interior wrought iron ladder connects the second floor to the basement, bypassing the ground floor entirely. Another ladder links the kitchen, which was an office during the post office days, to a viewing window into the grand hall, presumably to allow the postmaster to check up on his staff unaware. Ohio's federal building remains a source of community engagement and civic pride. The adaptive reuse of the historic building allows the Art Center to inhabit the intersection of art, history, and culture and to serve as the artistic epicenter of the southern bluegrass region.
This concludes this video on Danville, Kentucky and its federal building. I have brought you construction photos of this building. Does this mean I don't believe this topic has merit? Not quite. I contacted the city of Danville and put in an open records request for the quarry and the name of the construction company of the building. They could not help me on this matter. Then they referred me to the Art Center, which had these construction photos on display. I just wanted to share what I had found. I would have been more convinced if they had the name of the quarry and the construction company. For all I know, this building could have been disassembled and then reassembled in its current location. I have no idea. I do know I will continue this research with an open mind. Let me know what you think. And until next time, enjoy a few more photos that I found while doing this research. And until then, peace, light,